initially out of Boston College, where he got a scholarship through Abe Issa, and then he transferred to Illinois University, where he excelled. And so you had the situation where the UK was the home for Arthur Wint, and Illinois was the home for McKinley. I mention this because it shows that at the time, although we had athletes here training under G.C. Foster and under Ted Lamont, the real emphasis in those early days was to leave Jamaica to go abroad and to get your coaching and education. That has changed. It's been changing slowly. So if you start with the Olympic Games in '48, which is our first recorded participation in the Games, what you'll notice is not just a unique Jamaican situation, it's a unique Caribbean situation, because in that 100-meter finals in London in '48, you had a Trinidadian in the final, running for Great Britain at the time, McDonald Bailey. You had Lord Beach from Panama running, and then the 200s and the 400s, you had the McKinleys and the Wints. Leng and Roden were youngsters then. And so what you saw from the early days was the impact of the African diaspora on the region, and in our case, on Jamaica. So moving from '48 right through the years, if you were to follow that, in those days, track and field was all amateur. You ran for the glory of your country and for yourself. You could not receive any type of reward, whether financial or in kind. And with the emergence of the change of leadership in the IWF in the '80s, where Primo Nebbiolo, the great Italian visionary, introduced the whole concept of athletes being rewarded for their performances. And so there was a transformation mid-'80s between the amateur approach of Herman Arthur to the situation that we now speak about with Usain Bolt, where he runs as a professional. And therefore, the dynamics have changed somewhat. I mention that only because it's important to understand the emphasis and the difficulties experienced in the early years, where athletes had to find time after work to train.
Right.
Now, when you're professional, you can train in the morning, you can train in the evening, and you have a full-time regime of just training and preparing for competition.